So if you haven't seen Invincible's episode 7 of season 2, don't worry, this is spoiler free. I'm not going to bring up the plot at all. But there's this scene where at Comic-Con, Mark runs into a showrunner he admires called Filip Schaff, and they have a bit of a discussion where Invincible asks when the next season of his favorite TV show, Seance Dog, will be released, and Schaff is like,
sorry, animation takes a long time.
This entire scene is clearly a hint, nudge to the fans who will be wondering when the next season of Invincible will be coming out. They're not really hiding this either. The official Invincible account literally posted this scene as a meme suggesting the same thing, which is fair. Here's where the video takes a small turn though as we go through the horrors of working in animation as an animator. In this video, we will explore why animators deserve more consideration for their work, highlighting the painstaking effort and time it takes to bring animated products to life and the problems with working on recent movies like the Spider-Verse movies as well as other franchises. But first, while I think we all know what animators are and do, if you don't, they are the artists that bring the characters, settings and stories we love to life through movement, expression and visual storytelling. Their work encompasses a wide range of techniques from hand-drawn animation to computer-generated imagery, each requiring precision and attention to detail. They are the ones responsible for the emotions, the atmosphere, the immersion, the vibes of these fantastical worlds, which is cool and all. But usually the process of animating a single frame of animation can be incredibly time consuming. For hand-drawn animation, for instance, animators must meticulously sketch each frame. They are often drawing 24 frames for each second to achieve fluid motion. And so even with the current availability of digital animation software, creating lifelike movement and character interactions requires hours of painstaking work. And as a result, animated productions can take months or even years to complete. I mean, take many of your favorite animated TV shows, The Simpsons, Family Guy. They've endured for decades, entertaining audiences with their humor, the wit, and absolute lack of care for any moral standards and taboo subjects. They truly do not care about your feelings. However, behind the scenes, animators work tirelessly to meet demanding production schedules and maintain the show's visual quality. Episodes of these shows often undergo rigorous animation processes involving storyboarding, character design, layout, animation, and post-production. Let's play a little game. Guess how long it takes to make each episode of Family Guy. TikTok, 10 months. The Simpsons, 6 months. South Park, 3 to 4 days. What? Actually, that kind of makes sense. But Rick and Morty is 9 to 12 months, by the way. That's what we're actually talking about. And then there's the crazy long time it takes to make animated movies, such as those produced by Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks. Those companies basically make everything. Those require even more extensive production cycles, from concept development to script writing to character modeling and rendering. Every stage of the animation process demands time and resources. For example, Pixar's Toy Story franchise, which is known for its groundbreaking CGI animation and all that, you probably didn't know that it took several years to produce each installment. And of course it did. Those movies are obsessed with pushing the boundaries of the technological innovation and artistic expression. But animators don't just draw things. They're tasked with ensuring continuity and consistency and authenticity in their work. As brought up by Filip Schaff in this episode, where he's talking about how exactly they draw characters so that they can save time and also have to make sure that the drawings are consistent enough that it doesn't just look like a completely different show. They are tasked with paying careful attention to character movements, facial expressions, environmental details. Whether they're animating a thrilling action sequence or a heartfelt emotional moment, they have to strive to convey nuance and depth through those scenes. Their dedication to craftsmanship and storytelling really shows in the seamless integration of animation and narrative in these productions. In other words, the fact that lots of times you don't think about the fact that everything you're seeing when you turn on your favorite show or movie is basically made from scratch in a digital space or on paper. If you're talking about really old animations, yeah, that's the feat that we're talking about. The immersion, the fluidity of the camera movements, the fight scenes, all of that being executed at a very high level for our enjoyment. And don't even get me started on the wizardry that is stop motion. But speaking of animation that's like wizardry, let's talk about the Spider-Verse movies. Finally, apparently they had to hire over 1,000 animators to work on them, and you've probably seen those movies. They're fantastic. But when you look into the stories coming from the animators who worked on it, you start to ask, was it really worth it? Did it need to be this good? According to a number of artists who contributed to the film, the working conditions they were made to operate under during the film's production were basically unsustainable, erratic, and largely the result of producer Phil Lord frequently overriding the Across Spider-Verse's 3 directors in order to make endless last-minute changes. The artist also said, and they were speaking out basically anonymously, probably because they didn't want any potential retaliation, that virtually all the struggles they dealt with on the film, like working long hours and constant revisions to already completed shots, could be attributed to Phil Lord's management style. Now, despite Lord serving as a co-writer and a producer on Across Spider-Verse, he allegedly demanded final approval of all the film shots, while his co-writer, fellow producer and frequent collaborator Chris Miller was mostly absent day to day. And in fact, about 100 artists simply quit from not being able to handle the unsustainable conditions. These included demands to redo finished work about 5 times and had animators working at nearly 12 hours a day for 7-day working weeks. And then you think that like after all of this came out that the production team would have some sort of remorse. Well, then another producer of Across Spider-Verse, Amy Pascal, said, and I quote, "One of the things about animation that makes it such a wonderful thing to work on is that you get to keep going until the story is right. If the story isn't right, you have to keep going until it is." To the workers who felt demoralized by having to revise final renders 5 times in a row, I guess welcome to making a movie. Which, I mean, she has a bit of a point. Making movies is hard. It has always been hard. But it's a bit cold to essentially just be like, suck it up. Especially when, to be consistent with the sentiment of this video, especially when animators are already treated like cogs in a machine. And for context, this isn't really what happens in the rest of the film industry. Like, usually the cameramen, the gaffers, the grips, they're already home and probably not showing up once the live action has wrapped up. Like, everything else will be handled by the director and the production team, unless they are reshoots. The people who do suffer from this kind of behavior, though, of course, the CGI artists, which is why the topic about how CGI artists and animators have become overworked, and that's why CGI is getting worse in even the largest franchises, has become such a topical issue. And once again, of course, it's animation, the animators. Because really, the thing about animation, like Amy Pascal said, is that you can keep going back just to make sure it's just a little bit more perfect, just a little bit more perfect. But if they're not really considering their teams or their compensation properly, it can be really detrimental to the mental and physical health of the people working with them. If you want more information on this, check out the article that The Verge wrote on it in the description below. But of course, this probably wouldn't mean much if we couldn't articulate exactly why we love animation so much. To so many people, animated TV shows and movies have had a profound impact in our culture, shaping childhood memories, influencing popular trends, and sparking meaningful discussions, from iconic characters like Simba and Bugs Bunny to modern-day sensations like Frozen, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Animated productions have a lasting legacy that truly transcends generations, partially because animation ages really well. I mean, it's a canvas that really doesn't have a lot of limitations of aging technology. And behind each beloved character and memorable scene are the tireless efforts of animators who pour their creativity and passion into their work. But despite the vital role they play in the entertainment industry, and this is really all the entertainment industry, like I said earlier, CG artists are technically animators too, so I'm really talking about all the animators. Animators often receive less recognition and respect compared to actors, directors, screenwriters, cinematographers. The Oscars, for example, have an entirely separate category for Best Animated Feature Film, but basically not much else, and animators themselves rarely receive individual awards or accolades. And it's interesting because we don't think about this very much, but everyone on an animation team has their own specialization, just like live action teams. Like, the director is someone, and he's a certain type of animator, and so is the cinematographer, and so are the voice actors, and basically they all get lumped in together as one thing. This lack of recognition fails to properly praise the immense talent and dedication that they bring to their craft, and also help to perpetuate the misconception that animation, anime, cartoons are merely child's play, which is hilarious considering some of the best stories being written in Hollywood nowadays are animation. And worldwide, I mean, let's not even get into Japanese animation. Between Avatar, Fullmetal Alchemist, and Arcane, they basically cook all of Hollywood. I mean, you can argue in the comment section below. And so I believe it is time for animators to be given the consideration and respect that they deserve. By raising awareness of the time, effort, and artistry involved in animation, we can advocate for greater recognition and appreciation of animators' contributions to the entertainment industry. I mean, the Academy desperately needs an animation section, or to consider animation more on par with live action film as a whole, whether through awards and festivals, like music has the Grammys. Maybe the Annies get upgraded to Academy status, I don't know. But we must celebrate the creativity and innovation of animators and ensure where their voices are heard in an industry that thrives on imagination and storytelling. Animators are the unsung heroes of animation. Their talent and creativity and dedication breathe life into the shows and movies that we love so much. And as Invincible made very clear in the most subtle of ways, we need to respect that more and understand that we may not get another season of a show that we love, for instance, like Invincible, for another 2 years, even though this season will end on a very steep cliffhanger. Oh, no. You know what? Forget everything I just said. Put those animators back to work right now. Right now. Back on the fields. Back. And of course, I'm joking. This speaks to something I didn't quite mention in this video and why I thought this video was so important. It's because we, as the audience, are very often on the side of the producers. Whether it's the harsh working conditions of live action or animation, we don't really care. We want as much House of the Dragon and Invincible as we can get as quickly as possible, no matter how many animators we have to burn at the drawing board. And that has to change as well.